And sitting with us this week is Josh Bryant. Josh is with the Bryant Law Firm in Rogers, Arkansas, and Josh represents 13 of the adoptive parents in this Marshallese scandal, I guess we could say adoption scandal. So Josh, tell us a little bit first about your role in all of this.
My responsibility is simply to ensure that the bubble that we've created in the civil court through which we can process all these adoptions remains intact. There are adoption attorneys who are working with the expectant mothers and with the adoptive families who were matched through Mr. Peterson's office, and they're doing so within this civil case right now. It was necessary to do that so that a judge could immediately start reviewing all of these cases. Typically in Arkansas, a judge is not going to see an adoption until the child has been born and an adoption petition has been filed. But under the circumstances, it was really necessary for us to immediately get these cases in front of a judge so that the judge could start supervising those and making sure that before that child is born, all I's have been dotted and T's have been crossed.
Okay, we just want to be clear that you do have 2 children adopted from the Marshall Islands.
I do.
And you know a little bit about the adoption process, and you were saying that Arkansas is the easiest, one of the easiest states to adopt children.
Yes, Arkansas does have very easy and very adoption-friendly laws compared to some other states. You know, there are other states that don't allow for the payment of any birth mother expenses, for example, and Arkansas does allow those. There are some states that put a cap on how much an adoptive parent can pay to an expectant mother or an expectant family for those adoption-related expenses, and Arkansas has no such cap. And so it's not just about the money. There are some procedural things that are quite a bit easier as well in terms of waiting periods and things like that, but Arkansas is definitely very adoption friendly.
But you also agree that there needs to be reform. So what are some of the problems with adopting children in Arkansas?
You know, and it's not just an Arkansas problem, it's also it's a national problem. And you know, we in the United States have had a kind of a very strange relationship with the concept of adoption since it was invented. You know, prior to 1851, there were no adoption laws in the United States. We're still operating under an old paradigm of it's more about the adoptive parents and not quite where we need to be in terms of making it about the child. And so there need to be reforms that move us closer to that goal of making adoption about the welfare of a child and not about the parents. There are reforms that need to take place in terms of how adoption practitioners are involved in this process of aiding adoptive parents and biological parents in going through an adoption. There was a 2013 NPR study or an investigation that showed that to adopt through a private adoption a Caucasian child, the cost was about $35,000 to $40,000, but it was half of that to adopt an African American child. And as researchers have looked into this, they've discovered that in some cases, adoption practitioners will flat out say there are more African American children available for adoption and fewer people who are willing to adopt them. Well, that's pure supply and demand economics. And so we have to get to a point to where we're not thinking about adoption as a marketplace. We're thinking about adoption as a means of taking care of children.
Okay, well, Josh, thank you so much for joining us this Sunday.
My pleasure. Thank you.